Welcome to True Crime Kin Channel, where we dive into real stories that shake the core of human relationships. Today's case is one of shocking betrayal, twisted emotions, and a tragic ending that no one saw coming. So let's begin. It was a chilly evening on February 3, 2019, in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Spring Valley, PA. The streets were calm, lined with bare trees that swayed gently under the pale light of SD lamps inside the cozy two-story house on Oakwood Drive. The Williams family was about to experience a nightmare that would forever change their lives. David Williams, a successful real estate agent in his mid-40s, lived with his wife Sarah and his 19-year-old daughter Emily from a previous marriage. From the outside, they seemed like a perfectly normal family. David, hard-working and dedicated, had found love again after the death of his first wife. Sarah, in her mid-30s, was warm, charismatic, and seemingly adored by everyone who knew her. She had taken on the role of stepmother to Emily with ease, blending into the family effortlessly. Emily, though initially resistant to her father's remarriage, had grown close to Sarah over the years. The bond they shared seemed genuine, at least on the surface. But beneath this veneer of happiness, there was a secret, one so dark and twisted that its revelation would lead to unimaginable tragedy. As time passed, subtle changes started to occur in the Williams household. Emily, who had always been a bright and lively young woman, began to withdraw. Her father noticed she was spending more time in her room, avoiding conversations, and seemed to be lost in her thoughts. She wasn't dating anyone, hadn't had any major fallouts with friends, and her grades at college were still good. David chalked it up to the stresses of transitioning to adulthood, but Sarah's behavior was even more puzzling. She had grown increasingly distant, spending hours away from home without explanation, often claiming she was visiting friends or running errands. David, busy with his career, didn't think much of it until he noticed the tension between Sarah and Emily. On several occasions, David came home to find the two women sitting in uncomfortable silence. Sometimes he caught quick glances exchanged between them, almost like they were hiding something. He asked Emily if anything was wrong, but she brushed it off, assuring him that everything was fine. Sarah, too, would dismiss his concerns, saying they just had the usual mother-daughter disagreements. But David couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. Then, in March 2019, things took a dramatic turn. One evening, David returned home earlier than usual and overheard a heated argument between Sarah and Emily. Their voices were muffled, but the tension was palpable. As he walked up the stairs, he caught a glimpse of Sarah storming out of Emily's room, her face flushed with anger. Emily, on the other hand, looked distressed, her eyes red and puffy from crying. David, deeply concerned, confronted them both, but neither was willing to talk. What he didn't know at the time was that Emily was hiding a secret, one that would soon tear the family apart. Emily had been in a relationship, but it wasn't with someone her father would ever have expected. It wasn't with a classmate or a childhood friend. The person she had been involved with was none other than her own stepmother, Sarah. The affair had started subtly, almost innocently, months earlier. Sarah, who had always been attentive and caring, had been there for Emily during some difficult times. What began as the emotional support evolved into something far more intimate. Emily, vulnerable and confused, found herself drawn to Sarah in ways she couldn't understand. Sarah, too, was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Torn between her role as a mother figure and her growing attraction to Emily, they had managed to keep their relationship hidden for a while, but the strain was beginning to show. Emily, riddled with guilt, had tried to distance herself from Sarah, but Sarah's hold on her was too strong. The intensity of their affair was building, and with each passing day, the tension between them grew unbearable. On April 15, 2019, the secret finally exploded into the open. That evening, David received an anonymous email. It contained no text, just a series of photos of Sarah and Emily together in moments that were far from innocent. His heart pounded in his chest as he scrolled through the images, disbelief turning to rage. He stormed out of the house, not wanting to confront either of them in the heat of the moment, but knowing that their lives would never be the same again. 4 days, David stayed in a hotel, refusing to answer calls from either Sarah or Emily. The betrayal was too deep, too raw. But on April 20th, he returned home, ready to confront the situation head-on. What he didn't anticipate was just how dangerous things had become. Sarah and Emily's relationship had grown even more unstable in David's absence. Emily, racked with guilt and fear of her father's reaction, had tried to break things off with Sarah, but Sarah refused to let her go. The once caring stepmother had become possessive, obsessed with keeping Emily close. They argued constantly, their once secret affair, now an open wound that festered in the home. On the night of April 23rd, tragedy struck. It was around 9 p.m. when the neighbors first heard the screams. A frantic 911 call was made by a passerby, who reported loud arguing and crashing sounds coming from the Williams house. When the police arrived, they found the front door ajar, and the scene inside was nothing short of horrifying. Emily lay on the living room floor, barely conscious, blood pooling around her from a deep gash on her head. Sarah stood over her, holding a fireplace poker, her face pale and eyes wide with shock. It was clear that something had gone terribly wrong. As the police restrained Sarah and rushed Emily to the hospital, the truth of what had happened began to unfold. Emily's injuries were severe, and doctors worked through the night to save her. Meanwhile, Sarah was taken into custody, charged with assault. But the full story of that night was still shrouded in mystery, leaving both the police and David with more questions than answers. What had driven Sarah to such violence? Was it a crime of passion, or was there something more sinister at play? As the investigation continued, shocking details emerged about the events leading up to the attack, and what the detectives would uncover next would leave everyone stunned, setting the stage for a tragic and final confrontation. As the police investigated the events leading up to the assault, more disturbing truths came to light. Emily remained in critical condition in the hospital, fighting for her life, while Sarah sat behind bars awaiting formal charges. But what had caused their already tumultuous relationship to spiral into violence? What was it that Sarah was hiding, and could it have been prevented? In the days following the attack, David Williams struggled to make sense of what had happened. He spent hours by his daughter's bedside, hoping she would wake up and give him the answers he so desperately needed. The betrayal he felt from Sarah was unbearable. How could the woman he loved, the woman who had helped raise his daughter, be responsible for this horrific act? The police, too, were determined to uncover the full story. Detectives began piecing together the events that led to the tragic night of April 23rd. What they discovered was a chilling account of manipulation, emotional abuse, and unrelenting control. It turned out that Sarah had not simply been a loving stepmother to Emily. Behind closed doors, she had exerted a disturbing influence over her stepdaughter, carefully manipulating Emily's emotions over the course of several months. What had started as a close bond had quickly turned into something much darker. Sarah, unable to control her growing obsession, had used her position of power within the family to manipulate Emily into a relationship that crossed every line. Emily, emotionally vulnerable and struggling with her own identity, had fallen deeper into the affair, unsure of how to escape Sarah's grasp. When she finally tried to pull away, it was too late. Sarah's possessiveness had reached its breaking point. The night of the attack, tensions had been running high in the Williams household. After receiving the anonymous email exposing their affair, David's sudden departure left both Sarah and Emily on edge. With David gone, the full weight of the situation began to sink in for Emily. Overwhelmed with guilt and fear of the inevitable fallout, she confronted Sarah, begging to end their relationship for good. But Sarah wouldn't hear it. What followed was a terrifying argument that escalated into violence. Sarah, consumed by anger and desperation, had grabbed the fireplace poker in a fit of rage and struck Emily, sending her crashing to the floor. The physical wounds were severe, but the emotional scars ran even deeper. It was clear that Sarah's obsession had driven her to the edge, and now there was no turning back. But this wasn't the end of the story. As the investigation continued, detectives uncovered another shocking revelation that would turn the case on its head. During a thorough search of Sarah's personal belongings, police found a hidden journal tucked away in the back of her closet. Inside its pages were chilling entries that painted a disturbing picture of Sarah's mindset leading up to the attack. The journal revealed that Sarah had been planning to run away with Emily. In the weeks before the assault, she had written extensively about her feelings for her stepdaughter, describing an unhealthy mix of love, jealousy, and control. Sarah's obsession had grown to such a degree that she was willing to destroy everything, to keep Emily by her side, even if it meant tearing apart the family and taking Emily away from everyone she knew. One particular entry dated April 21st, just 2 days before the attack, stood out. "I can't let her leave me. She's everything to me. If David finds out, we'll lose it all. I need to make her understand that we're meant to be together no matter what. If I have to, I'll take her away where no one can find us. I won't let anyone stand in our way, not even her." The discovery of the journal provided the police with the final piece of the puzzle. This was not simply an act of passion. It was a premeditated crime. Sarah had been planning to isolate Emily, to remove her from the world and keep her under her control. The confrontation that night was not an isolated incident, but the culmination of months of emotional manipulation and psychological abuse. With this new evidence, the prosecution moved forward with charges of attempted murder, along with assault and unlawful restraint. The trial that followed captivated the nation as the details of the sordid affair and the shocking extent of Sarah's obsession were revealed to the public. Throughout the trial, David Williams remained a silent but constant presence in the courtroom. His once perfect family had been shattered, and the woman he had loved now stood accused of trying to kill his daughter. The pain of betrayal was etched on his face as he listened to the harrowing details of Sarah's manipulation and Emily's suffering. Emily, after several surgeries and months of recovery, took the stand during the trial. Her testimony was heartbreaking, recounting the months of emotional control Sarah had exerted over her. She spoke of how confused and trapped she felt, unable to see a way out of the toxic relationship until it was too late. Emily's words were powerful, and they painted a clear picture of Sarah's disturbing influence over her. The jury deliberated for several days, but in the end the verdict was unanimous: guilty on all charges. Sarah was sentenced to 25 years in prison for her role in the crime, with a possibility of parole after 20 years. For many, the sentence seemed too lenient given the extent of the damage she had caused, but for David and Emily, it was a step toward healing, a chance to move forward from the nightmare they had endured. As the years passed, Emily worked hard to rebuild her life. The scars of the past would always be there, but with therapy and the support of her father, she was able to find a sense of normalcy again. She returned to college, determined to finish her degree and start a new chapter, one free from the darkness that had consumed her. For David, the road to recovery was long. The betrayal from Sarah had left a deep wound, but his focus remained on his daughter's well-being. He sold the house on Oakwood, DR. Unable to bear the memories of what had happened there. The quiet neighborhood of Spring Valley eventually returned to its peaceful routine, but the tragic events that unfolded inside that house would never be forgotten. This case stands as a stark reminder of how easily love can turn into obsession, and how even the people we trust the most can hide dangerous secrets. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like this video for more true crime video. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. Take care and see you in the next video.